Hello and welcome to Life Focus. I'm Dan Meyer. Chuck and Deborah Hart of Littleton, Colorado have 4 active boys. From breakfast to bedtime, these parents are on their feet, running after their lively children. But all too often, their boys' energetic activity is viewed as bad behavior. What they'll tell you, however, is that their boys' actions are simply misunderstood. Michelle Yankee reports.
It is very frustrating when people look at boys and equate what they're doing to bad behavior.
Through swinging sticks and playful chokeholds, Chuck and Deborah Hart will tell you they believe their 4 boys are just being boys.
Oopsies.
There are people who make comments and say, why don't you control your sons? Why aren't they more well-behaved? It's very interesting to see the way society views them.
Boys are made to explore the unknown, push the limits, seek out novelty, and challenge their world. Actions which are commonly misunderstood.
Run, Lance, run. They expect boys to fit into some mold, which is always well-behaved, and that's just not boys. Boys they like to push, they like to shove, they like to mess with each other, they like to pick on each other.
Oopsies.
It used to bother me more than it does now. Now I just say, well, you know, they're one of 4 boys and that's kind of the thing they do.
You don't have to teach them how to sword fight or pick up a stick and make it a gun. That comes naturally to them.
And research confirms what Chuck and Deborah seem to know intuitively, that boys are naturally more aggressive than girls.
They make, the animal sounds naturally.
Nothing down there.
And they love to just try and hunt, whether it's a bug or a rabbit or whatever it is.
Before they had their boys, Deborah imagined a life with daughters, with their frilly pink dresses and Barbie dolls. But that was not meant to be.
My husband really wanted sons, so when the first 2 were sons, I think he was very pleased, and then he started to open up to the idea of girls, but that didn't happen, and so here we are.
Meet 9-year-old Nathaniel, a born leader.
You guys making too much dust. Get out.
He would be a fairly typical firstborn child. He likes things his way. He likes to be in charge.
That's why I'm telling you guys to get out. You're making too much dust.
He has a lot of energy, and he's a bright boy.
Then there's 7-year-old Ethan, who's naturally inquisitive.
It's basically catch and release.
He is pretty amazing the way he grasps things. So if there's something he doesn't know how to do, he'll try and figure it out on his own. And many times I'll ask him if he wants help with it, and he'll tell me no.
The 3rd boy in the Hart hierarchy is 5-year-old Lance. He's got his own special gift.
Thank you, Mommy and Daddy.
Biggest heart you'll ever meet in your life. So he's just a real sweetheart, very outgoing.
And last, and perhaps the bravest of the bunch, is 3-year-old Wyatt, who likes to show his brothers who's really the boss.
No, it wasn't. I'll throw the shovel at you guys.
We say he is the one we waited for. He is a handful.
I'm hanging upside down.
He will do anything that they're doing. He has no fear.
I can climb this fence.
He's the biggest risk taker. I can see it already that he will give us a run for our money.
Catcher, Mom. Yeah, you're a catcher. Daddy, don't get whacked in the face.
For a man to have 4 boys, 4 sons, is just absolutely superb. I couldn't have asked for anything more than that.
Guys, what are you doing down here?
But being a mom to 4 boys has required some adjustments, especially for Deborah.
Please don't pull the flowers out.
I really had to start separating myself and stop asking, why do you think that's fun? And start realizing, well, this is what they want to do. This is fun for them. And so if they want to catch crawdads in a creek, then we'll go do that.
And perhaps even more challenging for Deborah has been the way the boys seem to favor their dad over her.
There's Daddy. Are you ready? There's Daddy.
That was hurtful to me.
Hey, Dad!
because I thought, I'm their mom and I spend so much time with them.
Hi there!
And I hold them and carry them and all of these things. And as the nurturing parent, it was really hard to watch that.
Don't forget to do your evaluations.
Mothers play as crucial a role as dads, but it's different.
The way boys bond with each parent is no surprise to Kathy Stevens of Colorado's Gurian Institute. She spent the last 25 years helping parents, teachers, and communities understand the way boys are wired.
I mean, we have males and females for a reason. They bring different skills, different talents to the table.
And Stevens suggests that many parents don't understand this. But in fact, studies have shown that boys and girls differ, not just physically, but mentally and psychologically, even at birth.
When mom comes to lean over the crib to look at the boy, if there's a mobile above the crib turning, he might look at mom for a moment and say, "Oh, that's you, fine, but this mobile's really interesting."
Stevens adds that boys are attracted to the spinning mobile because their brains are often more spatial, which means their attention is drawn to moving objects. So while mom is trying to connect emotionally, her little boy wants to explore.
And mom might think, "Oh, he doesn't like me as well as his sister did at this age, because when she looks at me, she holds my gaze longer." It doesn't mean he cares less, it just means this is really interesting to me.
So what does it mean when we say a boy is wired differently?
This is awesome!
One theory suggests that because boys have more spinal fluid than girls, that their impulses to act and to take risks occur at faster rates than females.
It is that need boys have to jump on the bed, the need they have to climb the trees. So when they're thinking of doing something, it moves more quickly to their body. Let's go do it. And it's not as quick with girls.
Boys also produce more serotonin, a chemical in the brain that normally has a calming effect in humans. But boys don't absorb the chemical as well as girls. The result?
Lance Wyatt, stop!
Massive bursts of boy energy.
It was the boy energy that had the guys on their horses going into a land they didn't understand, willing to take the risks. So it's the thing that allows us to expand and explore and to build and to grow and to challenge the things that we think.
Then there is a boy's competitive nature. That's a trait scientists don't seem to understand as well, but one that research says happens more often in boys than it does in girls.
Boys often thrive in environments that provide competition on a regular basis and in a safe way. If you don't provide competition for them, they'll provide it for themselves. They'll make everything into a competition.
My boys are very competitive, all the time, from who drank their glass of milk fastest to how many pancakes they ate for breakfast to, actual sporting events.
And what about aggression? What makes boys more aggressive than girls? Parents like Deborah say you don't have to be a scientist to notice a big difference between their behaviors.
You go to a pool and you see the boys are, messing around, pushing each other, picking up the noodles and using them like swords. And the girls just generally don't play that way. I just think there's an aggressiveness in there, and sometimes aggressiveness has a bad connotation, but I think it's a valid part of how they're made.
Fighting was a major thing for a lot of men for a long, long time. They had to learn how to fight to protect not only their family, but with their tribe or their country, and I think that really comes naturally.
So why have these traits that seem so natural in boys been misinterpreted?
Boys are sometimes seen as defective girls because they can't be calm, they can't sit still, they can't be organized, they can't be like girls, particularly in school.
And as parents, the Harts try to encourage their boys to develop traits that keep with their nature.
You need to try and teach them, hey, you're supposed to do some of these things. You're supposed to be a leader. You're supposed to provide for your family. You're supposed to protect your family.
It may seem obvious that boys and girls are different. Today we'll meet educators who take that difference right into the classroom. Mount Carmel High School, an all-boys school in Chicago, caters to boys' brain development and physical differences. Here, young men can learn and express themselves in ways not normally accepted at other schools. Just witness for yourself as you take a front row seat in an all-boys class.
We'll make this 12 to 14.
Here at this Catholic high school that caters to boys, if you want to answer a question in Mr. Bedell's class,
Wow, nice.
forget about raising your hand and start practicing your pitch.
I play a lot of games. Today's game was sort of a ball toss game, but I've done other games. I do like lightning rounds where you have 1 minute to answer 10 questions.
In this highly competitive and active environment, boys seem to thrive. But why? Brendan Bedell, a teacher, learned to focus on the male brain while studying at the Gurion Institute.
The idea that boys don't care is nonsense. Boys do care. It's just unfortunate that our education system hasn't tapped into their passions.
But what draws boys to the learning process and keeps them interested may surprise you.
You would not see desks in rows. You would see a variety of seating opportunities.
Teachers will play music in between the passing periods.
A teacher would talk a little louder.
Once you have your 3,
Boys don't hear as well. Bright light.
You're going to see a lot of movement. You're going to see a lot of games played.
So there'd be opportunities for the boys to have things to manipulate, stress balls to squeeze. If they had to sit still,
On your mark, get set, go.
there are chunks of learning, 10, 12, 15 minutes of lecture delivering content, and then a break, and then an activity where the boys interact with each other, do some feedback, manipulate something, discuss something, get up out of their seats, do a brain break, as we call them.
And researchers have also demonstrated that without a highly stimulating classroom environment, boys don't often excel.
It's difficult because the way we think of school is people seated quietly in their chairs, listening to the teacher. And for boys, that simply doesn't work. They have to move around.
you got the worst group, man.
What they found is that when boys move their muscles, their brain activates. When boys don't move their muscles, over time, their brain goes into rest state.
And it's kind of like power saver on your appliances. Just powers down. Doesn't burn as much energy. Conserves the energy for when something challenges it that it may need to respond to.
Learning is definitely easier in an all-boys environment.
16-year-old Chris Suchka is a sophomore at Mount Carmel. He didn't decide to come to an all-boys school because of their unique educational approach. He simply wanted to avoid certain distractions.
I would think girls are a distraction because you're not going to want to focus all the time on what's in front of you, what's on your desk, and you're going to want to look at the pretty girl in the row next to you or try to impress her with, oh, you're the first one to raise the answer. That could also get you in trouble in class.
But instead of simply avoiding the girl distraction, Chris began to thrive academically. He's become an honor student while playing on both the varsity baseball and football teams.
As a male, you have to face many challenges because you want to be the best. It's in your makeup, your genetic makeup.
But whether he's on the field or in the classroom, Chris feels like he's constantly learning.
6 times 2 is 12, 3 times 4 is 12.
Of course, that's all part of the strategy.
You can focus on your own work instead of having to worry about how you look or how you talk or stuff like that, your own personal traits, where you could just worry about your schoolwork. The teachers could reach out more with one-on-one person because you develop more of a relationship because there's less people around.
But can structuring an entire academic program for guys eventually limit their ability to work with girls? And can this type of program work for females?
Each group is going to have their own chance to come up with their stuff.
Nothing that you would do to make an environment healthy and happy for boys would be bad for girls. In fact, would help girls, but in different ways. So both boys and girls can learn, are perfectly capable. They are on different paths in terms of readiness for learning.
What is readiness for learning? It simply is a target age when boys are capable of academic study. For example, in most school districts, boys begin attending school at age 6. But in many cases, they're just not ready.
The thing we want them to do is learn to hold a pencil and write their ABCs. So the teacher may look over and say, oh, look how nicely Susie did that A. Can't you draw an A like that? No, I can't. And so I get frustrated. And because boys are competitive, they don't want to play a game they think they can't win.
On the other hand, little girls have better verbal and fine motor skills by age 5, making them better suited to begin a traditional classroom education at age 6.
So we put boys at a distinct disadvantage when we take this little person who's been running around, learning by interacting with his world, touching and feeling and grabbing, and suddenly we think when he passes through the school door, we say, be quiet, sit down, be still. Now we're going to teach you a new way to learn. And his body is not designed for that way to learn.
Over time, that can lead to messages like, school's not for me. You know, I'm not a good student. You hear this from boys all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Here are the hard facts. Boys are struggling to make it in a traditional school. For example, in 2004, 57% of all high school dropouts were boys. A study in 2006 showed that twice as many boys have learning disabilities, and 3 times as many boys are diagnosed with ADHD. Perhaps most frightening of all, a 2005 report shows that 5 times as many males commit suicide. While these statistics are startling and raise many questions, one thing is certain. By creating a comfortable environment that promotes positive brain development, this crisis can be solved, one boy at a time.
I think people should just give all boys a chance and get to know him for him, not see someone before and be like, oh, he'll just be one of those. He's going to be rude and out of control. But give him a chance and judge him on your own point. Don't just hear it from other people.
Research shows that from a very young age, boys are not always made to feel as appreciated as girls. You may remember a nursery rhyme in which girls are made of everything nice and boys are made of frogs and snails and puppy dog tails. The Harts, who have 4 boys under the age of 9, feel this discrimination against their sons. They want others to appreciate their unique development. Michelle Yonke concludes this report.
When I grow up, I want to be in the Air Force. When I grow up, I want to be in the Army. I want to be in the Navy. A fireman.
Chuck and I think that it's very important that they are able to fulfill their God-given purpose in life. And if that's being an artist or a musician or a bull rider, we want them to do that based on what their desire that was put in them at birth is telling them to do.
And Stevens warns that unless we embrace this true nature of boys, the crisis will grow.
When we don't nurture the nature of our kids, we end up with kids who get lost, kids who aren't focused, kids who aren't interested, kids who rebel, kids who act out, kids who don't behave, because there's dissonance within them of who they're trying to be and the box we're trying to fit them into.
And she argues that school is not the first or even the best place for male children to learn and grow into young men. That job begins at home.
Mom's the hub of the wheel, and the kids are the spokes. Mom holds it together close. It's the close piece that Mom does. Dad's the rim. He's the one who's interacting with the outside world, protecting, holding it together. Well, without the rim, the spokes will fly off. Without the hub, the spokes wouldn't be in place in the first place. So it's a really symbiotic relationship. Both are equally as important, but they're both absolutely necessary.
Both are absolutely necessary. And through the years of raising 4 boys, Deborah has learned the true value in her sons looking up to their father and other positive male role models.
I see the relationship that they can have with their dad, and I think that they learn so much from him, and they learn things from him that I just can't teach him because I'm not a man.
They look around and see, what are men doing? What are good men doing? Is that what I'm supposed to do when I'm a man? And that helps them to find whatever their path is going to be.
You're always essentially on call. You're always on duty. And you need to keep that in the back of your mind and make a stand to do what's right so that they see someone doing what's right all the time.
You have picking up to do.
We laugh that they have 2 speeds, either sleep or awake. No, we gotta get you ready for bed. So it's usually a struggle to try and get them to put their pajamas on, to brush their teeth, To kind of try and slow them down, read a book with them, get them in bed.
But the Philistines have come into our land, so Saul had to give up hunting.
After a long day, Chuck and Deborah send the boys on a path to bed.
Are you guys ready?
And nighttime is an interesting time in the household because I think as parents, we're a little more exhausted than our kids are.
He stayed inside quite a long time.
A lot of times I'll even fall asleep reading to them or something. They already know that when my words start to trail off that I'm done.
And even though their day is filled with challenging moments, the Harts will tell you that having 4 boys is a life they would never trade.
Long day, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
Aren't they all?
Enjoy them, absolutely enjoy them, because they do grow up so fast and they're so special.
I do love each of them just the way they are, and I wouldn't change them. Because I look at them as a special creation from God, and I can't look at them any other way and say, you know, you need to be different.
Respect their differences and encourage them to love their brothers and to respect their brothers and to just enjoy your family.
I love you. You sleep good, okay?
Love you. Love you.
Yes, I don't always agree with their behavior.
They have a hug and a kiss?
Nope.
Yes, I think that they need to be trained, and they're teachable. That's why they are still young and have parents.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much.
But overall, no, I would not change them.
So here's to the boys with all their bumps and bruises and quirky traits, and to at least one family who thinks they're worth fighting for.
Boys are just such a blessing. They're so much fun. They're so energetic, and they keep you very alive. And they're very challenging in some ways, but it's very worth it.
Boys can overcome a world that doesn't cater to their differences. By protecting their emotional needs, we can help young boys develop into healthy men. First, parents and educators should provide an environment that allows for their natural differences. Secondly, boys need to feel connected to their families, friends, and communities. And the Hart family will tell you that if you take a closer look past their son's rough exterior, you'll find that Nathaniel, Ethan, Lance, and Wyatt are all Hart. Well, that's all for today's edition of Life Focus. I'm Dan Meyer, and I'll see you again next time.
More information about this program can be found online at www.lifefocus.tv.
Nurture the nature of our children. And if our boy's nature is to go this direction because that's where his passion is, I think it's crucial for parents to pay attention to that and to support that. Because the hardest thing for a boy in terms of finding his purpose in the world is when he thinks his purpose is to go this way and someone's telling him no, it's not.